You've seen the work we've put in, day out, challenging myths, debunking old wives' tales, and rejecting poor breeding practices. We've dedicated years of research, study, and real-world experiences to perfect the art and science of breeding. And we do it for one reason: to bring you the best, most accurate information possible. Because you know what? You deserve nothing less. But to keep this mission growing week after week, we need you. If you found value in the Bred to Perfection podcast, please take a moment to rate and review us. A 5-star rating and a quick comment might seem small, but every review helps us reach more breeders who need to hear the truth, who want to learn what it really takes to create, improve, and maintain top quality strains. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you are a vital part of it. If you believe in what we're doing, if you want to help others wake up and become better breeders, push this podcast to the top. Rate, review, and share. Together, we make a difference. Thank you for standing with us. Now, let's get to work. Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. The Breeders Academy proudly presents Bred to Perfection with Kenny Troiano, a show for serious breeders.
Whether you are looking to create a new strain or simply improve an old one, you have come to the right place.
Daddy, I want more chicken.
Oh, boy.
Now, here's your host, Kenny Troiano.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bred to Perfection. My name is Kenny Troiano, and this, my friends, is the podcast devoted to helping you become a better breeder and taking your strain to the next level. That's right, my friends. It doesn't matter if you are brand new to breeding or you've been breeding for many years. There is something all of us can do to improve our fowl for future generations.
I've never been a quitter. Why, I've never known when to quit. Just ask my 4th grade teacher.
He never knew when to quit. Oh.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Bred to Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders Academy, and I'm here with my wife, Nancy. What's up?
Yay!
Yay,
I've
what?
got a story to tell.
Okay.
You only get, it's a yay and it's not a yay. You only have me to bounce off questions and content to. So.
And you know what? We
Just
should be
you
good.
and me, baby.
We should be good at it. We do it all day long, every day, don't we? So.
We do.
Yeah, especially now that you're retired, we really do it now.
We do.
Yeah.
All right, so what else we got going here? I hear we got a new member. You want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah. It's the first time I've seen them that they showed it on our chat like that. I don't know if Dan did it or if YouTube did it or what. So I'm not really sure. But it looks like he joined our YouTube membership, which is a lot of our archive videos that aren't on the front end. So the members get all of them, and then I have some selected ones in this membership so that Dan knows. And it's growing. We're getting a lot of people in there, and they're enjoying the videos. But just know that it's not the Breeders Academy, and that's all you're getting is some of the archive videos that you don't get on the front end. And if you get through them all and you want to join the Breeders Academy, then just go to the address on the bottom of the page there, or click on the QR code in the corner there, and that'll get you to the page. But it's a good way to see a lot of the archive videos that we did years ago. Every time I think about taking it off and not doing it, I get a bunch of members in there. I'm like, okay, I guess they're enjoying it. I just want you to know it is not the Breeders Academy, and there's so much more inside the Breeders Academy. I do want to welcome the new members to the Breeders Academy. We got a lot of new members this week, and I appreciate that. For our members in there, we have a Masters Class video for them. It's another video. I think it may be the last one with Brian Reeder. He's planning on coming on more, and we'll get some more on there. And then I'll be doing some other Masters Class videos that have to do with the Founders Program and things like that. So check that out when you go inside the Breeders' Academy. This is important. Next week, we're not doing Tuesday. It's going to be really erratic this next couple months, okay? And I apologize. It is a weird couple months for us, too. We have so much going on. It's amazing we're even doing a show right now, because that's how much we have going on. But we're not doing a show next Tuesday, but we are on the 26th, which is a Friday, with Dr. Gallardo. And it's going to be a really good topic. It's on infectious leukosis. And it's amazing because we're getting, every time I turn around, whether it's the members or other people are getting a hold of me and they're telling me they have either have infectious leukosis or they know someone who does, which I used to think that was a pretty rare disease. I know they did eradicate it in the commercial world, but it's starting to really show its ugly face in the private hobby world, the backyard breeder. So he's going to come on and cover that. I think you should watch it. It's a really important one. A lot of people don't even know they have it, but it's a nasty disease that can destroy your strain. So if you want to join the Breeders' Academy, just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Once you join, you're going to have instant access to the website. You'll have access to the Founders Program, Masters Class videos, the members' roundtables, all the programs and courses, a complete collection of the YouTube videos and podcasts. Not all of them are on the front end, so you get to see those. And then you're going to get daily articles as well. We'll also have material from Brian Reeder, Peter Brown, and Dr. Gallardo. And I also do coaching calls. So if you need a coaching call, that's a good place to get it. It's one-on-one. Me and you get on either the phone or this format here. You show me the pictures you have, the videos, and we talk about where you're at and where you need to go. If you have any issues with the website or breeding or your strain, we'll get together and we'll talk about it. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting topic. It's we called it Building a Better Bird, Breeder's Guide to Creating and Improving a True Strain. It's a compilation of questions that we've gotten through the years. And I just started jotting them down, collecting them from emails and what have you, and putting them together. And Nancy and I were looking over them. What do we got all together? Maybe, we're not going to get to them all. I don't know how many we're going to get to tonight. Maybe a couple hundred? Really good questions all together?
Yeah, we do. But here, I think we've got 10 questions that we have pulled out for tonight. And I really don't think we're going to get all the way through all 10 questions. So We'll see. They're pretty good.
Anything you want to say before we get going?
Nope. I think we're all good to go. And so let's go ahead and start with the first question that we found. How can I identify and cull genetically weak birds? But first, Kenny, why don't you let everybody know exactly what genetically weak birds actually is?
Health and disease, genetic defects, deleterious genes, the ones that are harmful to their survival. Any bird that's substandard or doesn't represent their breed, poor type conformation, and any bird that's lacking proper production and performance abilities. Those are the main criteria, but there's a lot more than that.
Okay, here's my question to you. If you don't see that in your Adam and Eve, okay, Adam and Eve meaning, for those of you that haven't watched the show before, your male and female that you're starting with to start your strain with, if you're not seeing it in those two, can you see it in the offspring? Or if you do see some discrepancies in the Adam and Eve, can you go ahead and make them and see if the offspring turn out to be better and don't have those discrepancies?
Chances are, if the Adam and Eve, either one of them, have a fault or a defect or an issue, or they've been sick or are sick, they're going to pass that to the offspring. And sometimes they don't pass it to the F1, basically, because a lot of our Adam and Eves are not related. So the offspring end up being hybrid. So the first offspring are your F1 generation. Sometimes they can get away with not expressing it, but they're definitely carriers at that point. And then the next generation after, that's when you really see it. So if you have an Adam and Eve that's expressing a defect, a fault, they've been sick in the past or they're sick right now, they have issues that don't represent their breed, I wouldn't breed them. I'd find a different Adam and Eve. And that's a good time to find a good Adam and Eve, or a different Adam and Eve, is in the beginning. Because once you get into the breeding program and you've spent some years and some time on them and you've successfully bred them and you've culled through them, it's not the time to bring in new blood, because every time you bring in new blood, you are starting over. So what we normally see is, let's say you find the right Adam and Eve and they look good physically, mentally, they represent their breed, they have all the form and function that you're looking for, they have good type conformation, like I said, they represent their breed, and it's their offspring that are the true tests. The offspring prove the worth of the parents. So if we start seeing issues with the offspring, then we need to decide what we're going to do after that. And it depends on how many of the offspring. Can we find any that don't express a defect, that are actually good? Because all we need is a male and a female to move forward with. But if it's all of them and we see a big issue throughout the whole clutch of chicks or whatever we produce from the Adam and Eve, then we're going to have to really determine what to do. We may at that point want to just scrap them and get something else, or find new mates to the birds that we're using as Adam and Eve. So if our main bird happens to be the cock, and that's the one we're really interested in, and the hen is basically you got your reoccurring parent and you got your donor parent. And if the reoccurring parent has faults, then we got issues. And if the donor parent is not the one that you're in love with, then we got issues. But if it happens to be the donor parent that has the issues, but a recurrent parent looks good, then it's just a matter of finding a new mate for that particular bird, and then we move forward. So it's a good time to maybe, like we've been talking more about this all the time, and in the beginning I was really hesitant to say that when you get your Adam and Eve, maybe get 2 or 3 pairs, and then breed them at the same time, and then determine which pair is producing the best offspring, and then go in that direction, get rid of the other 2. The problem I fear is that they get 3 pairs and then they want to go in 3 different directions right away. And I don't suggest that. I don't mind doing multiple breedings, multiple pairings to find out which are producing the best birds, especially when they're pretty equal overall. But to do that and then go in different directions right away, you're looking at a headache down the road. They're not going to be treated or produced as equal as the other. And so it's really important to always select the best and go in that direction. So in the beginning, I'm encouraging it more and more, is when you go find your Adam and Eve and you're willing to go and spend the money on good birds to start your strain, then find 3 good hens and 3 good roosters.
You bring up a couple questions with that here, because you're saying in the offspring, all you have to do is find 1 male and 1 female to move forward with that. But wouldn't that be a little concerning that out of, I don't know, a clutch of 12 chicks, you've only got 1 female and 1 male that are worth a damn and the rest are crap? Would that be a red flag as to maybe I should move in a different direction with 2 different birds?
Not exactly, because it's very seldom that we're going to go and get birds from somebody and they're going to produce perfect offspring, because we just don't know what's in them. And we're usually dealing with birds, or Adam and Eves, no matter how many we get, we're usually dealing with birds that are not related. Even when sometimes they say they are, they usually are not. So we're going to get variability. We're going to see variability in offspring. So if we can get at least 1 stag and 1 pullet out of that look good, and they're better than the parents, that's the key thing too. They got to be better than the parents. If they're better than the parents and look good, don't have any faults, then we can breed those. We can go forward with those. In the Founders Program, we have a specific system that we use. It's a 3-phase program that has 6 stages. And the first few stages are what we consider the first stage is the Adam and Eve, which we call the Genesis phase. And then the next few after that are what we call the cleanup process, the transformation stage. And so it's important that you do that properly so that you can move forward, because a lot of people give up because they breed what they thought were good birds. They're Adam and Eve, but they weren't producing the best offspring. So they give up. But we have a system that will fix that. They'll actually get you to go forward even when the birds aren't producing the best birds. But when they're producing a lot of faults, like defects, sick birds, things like that, then there's some things we need to do to get by so that we can move forward. Medication, let's say if we have sick birds, I'm not a favorite of medications. But when that's all you have, and I understand a lot of people are strapped for money, and they got to do what they can with what they got. And I would not normally medicate birds, but if that's how they were kept alive in the first place, which a lot of breeders do use a lot of medications and vaccinations, then you may have to medicate and vaccinate those things just for a little while. until you can get enough birds on the ground so that you can start weeding them off it. I would never plan on keeping a strain forever on medications because it's just hiding the faults. You're hiding the weaknesses. And the day you stop that medication is when you really find out what you have. And a lot of people, they don't like what they see. But you, little by little, if you're selecting them properly, breeding towards resistance to disease, you can get away from those medications so you don't need them anymore. I say it all the time. I've had my birds, this particular family, for 30 years now. I think a little over now. And they haven't been on medications for, I would say, 25 years. Since Tony threw them all away, I have not used any medications, no wormers, nothing, no vaccinations. And I just culled the birds that were sick to the ones that were healthy. And then I just kept moving forward until I'm to the point now when I don't have any sick birds. And there's a key thing too, and I hear people say it all the time, is breed to the birds that get sick and get better. Those are the ones you want to breed to. That's only if that's all you have, because that's only acquired resistance. I want genetic resistance. I actually want the birds that are all eating and drinking in the same place, and they're the ones that never got sick. And if you produce enough offspring, you're going to have a better selection, and you're going to find those few that just never get sick, and they're out there. And so if you can locate those and get rid of the rest, then disease is not going to be an issue for you. They're going to overpower everything. They're never going to get sick. They're going to be bulletproof at that point.
And that's not to say we're giving you the go-ahead. Breed those sick birds. Just give them medication and go for it. That's only if you have no other option and it's the beginning of your breeding process.
Yeah, exactly right.
So
yeah.
You mentioned a few minutes ago about people who will maybe get 3 sets of pairs and start off with their breeding program with 3 sets of pairs, but don't do all 3 sets of pairs, meaning going forward with 3 sets of pairs. And my question to you is, part of your reasoning for saying that is because then that divides your attention between 3 different lines?
Because if you look at 3 pairs, you have 3 cocks, 3 hens. If you're honest with yourself, out of the cocks, there's always one that's better than the other 2.
Exactly.
Okay. If you look at the hens, there's always one that's better than the other 2. I don't mind breeding all of them to see what I get, because I'm hoping that you selected well enough your Adam and Eves to select birds that, we're not talking about birds that are wildly different from each other. Because it's really important too that when you go select your Adam and Eve and your desire is to actually breed and perpetuate a particular type of bird, a particular color of bird, a bird for a particular function, that all the birds are going to look alike, act alike, perform alike. They share all the same characteristics. So we're not talking about wildly different birds. And if you have a hen that the conformation is completely different than the other, then I wouldn't even breed her. So if I'm going to breed 3 hens and 3 cocks, and I'm going to set up 3 different pairings or matings, then I want all 6 of those birds to be almost exactly alike. They almost have to be exactly alike, because if I see that big a discrepancy and I'm seeing contrasting characteristics, then those are the birds I'm going to get rid of. I won't even bother with those. So that's why I actually think it would be better if you're starting out like that to get 3 full brothers and 3 full sisters so that they're all related and they all look good. They don't have any faults. You're going to go a lot farther that way than getting a bird from this guy and a bird from this guy, because they're just not going to look alike. They're not going to act alike. And if they're that far off, can you imagine the variability you're going to get in your offspring from those kind of pairings? Man, I wouldn't want to be in that position.
Okay, so you're talking 3 pairs and they're all almost identical.
They should be
pair.
Close, yeah.
Okay. You breed all 3 of them, all right? All 3 of them have offspring on the ground. Is it at that point that when you see the offspring is when you choose your pair to go forward with? Because that offspring that they produced was the best?
You might not see it right out of the shell unless they're like showing serious defects right off the bat, or they're sick or lethargic. But let's say all the chicks pop out and they look good. So you might have to grow them out. So as you're growing them out, let's say they all hatch. Okay, this pairing, the chicks weren't that great out of the shell. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to discard that pair right away. They start growing, they're developing, they get about quail size, and all of a sudden I'm starting to see issues in their growth and development from one of the other pairs. Gone.
They're gone.
So little by little, I'm going to eliminate them till I get to the final birds. And that's the direction I'm going to go. And it's like in the beginning of the breeding program with your Adam and Eve, you never want to go real broad. Like in the Founders program, we don't go very broad in the beginning. We go more broad in the end. When we get to the foundation stage, the family expands at that point. We keep everything nice and tight in the beginning. Now, I don't mind doing test mating. Test mating is a really important part of breeding. You're doing test matings all the way through. Breeding those 3 pairs is basically what you're doing. You're test mating. So I'm letting them prove their worth. But yeah, I don't want to expand early. I want to keep everything nice and tight through the genesis phase. I want to keep everything pretty tight in the transformation phase. And when I get to the foundation phase is when I really broaden out and expand the family.
And I tell you, in the Breeders Academy, they have the Founders program that leads you all the way through these stages and helps you and guides you every step of the way. So for those of you that haven't joined the Breeders Academy yet, that is something I would consider doing, because it's going to help you with your strain, your family, everything that you've got going on with your chickens. You said foundation, and that leads me to the second question that we have for the night, and it reads,
hold on, Nancy.
How do
I'm getting a serious clicking in your mic. What is going on out there?
I don't have any bracelets on.
I don't know if we're getting really poor reception. Are you shaking the table or anything, or hitting the table?
We changed things up a little bit tonight, guys, where I have a big screen computer to the side of me so that I can see the outline. The gremlins are upon us. All right, so moving on to question 2, because you just said the word foundation, and I'm going to explain the question here. How do I select a foundation pair or trio for strain creation? Now, when I first read this question earlier in the day, foundation really confused me, because as I know it, foundation happens in the middle stages of the Founders program. And I asked Kenny about this, and he said, what did you say about that?
Oh, it's still, I'm telling you, that clicking is driving me nuts.
Is it still going on?
Yeah. Oh, we're going to have to figure that one out. I may have to buy Nancy a computer. I don't know. Maybe that's it. We've been having internet issues out there. Okay, if I remember right, because I remember we talked about that earlier today, they were talking about how do I select the foundation pair or trio when creating a strain. And your biggest question was the foundation. We talk about the foundation a lot. A lot of people mix up your seed fowl with your foundation fowl. And foundation fowl are actually near the, I don't want to say the end of the breeding program, but it's well into the breeding program. Whereas the seed fowl is your Adam and Eve, which is the beginning of the program. So just the way he asked it threw Nancy off, because it wasn't really worded properly. And I think it's important because a lot of people get mixed up on the proper verbiage or nomenclature of, or the words that we use when we're describing our breeding programs or how we breed. So that's really important to understand. You have any other questions beside that?
No, you cleared it up, because you start with your Adam and Eve. You don't start with a foundation. It's the beginning process, your Adam and Eve, like the beginning of creation, so to speak. That's why we came up with the term Adam and Eve.
You know what? I'm sorry, can't take this. This is going to be a nightmare. Yeah, this is going to be a nightmare to edit. You know what? Maybe you should come in here. I'm watching you. I think it's the internet.
Okay.
Come in
Going
here.
into you.
Yeah. Sorry about that, everybody. You got to understand that this show is the raw footage of our podcast. It's not the video that's important to me. It's the sound. And we're not really set up for this either, so just bear with us. But this will be better. We're going to have to fix that.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. This show was brought to you by the Breeders Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl. As a member, we'll provide you with the roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. I urge you to check it out. You've got nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl.
I hope to see you there. So let's get started.
my earphones from here?
Yeah.
Okay, plug me in.
Pull up your chair. I can't even concentrate with that sound. Probably not bothering anybody but me, too.
Yeah, but it'll bother me when I'm editing. I'm sure of it. Okay, sorry guys.
Okay, let me fix a couple things here. Okay, so I forgot the question.
We were talking about the foundation. It was just actually word verbiage, the difference between foundation and your Adam and Eve, but we pretty much covered that.
But are we going to answer the question?
I thought you did.
No, I don't remember answering the question at all. Okay, let me look at it real quick. So how do I select? Okay. It's the reverse of what we were just talking about a second ago when we were talking about how can I identify or cull the genetically weak birds. It's almost a reverse of what we were talking about there, is that they got to be healthy. That's the key. Health is non-negotiable. If you're starting with unhealthy birds or sick birds or birds that have health issues, then that's going to be passed to the next generation, and it's just going to get worse as you go. And the last thing you want to do is rely on medications, because medications are just hiding the faults. How are you selecting properly? How are you selecting the right birds? How are you moving forward when you're actually hiding the faults? Outcrossing is the same way. As people think outcrossing is the answer, because when they do the outcross and are breeding hybrids, they think it's hiding a lot of the mistakes. It might hide some of the recessive traits, but it doesn't hide everything. But you're actually introducing traits that they didn't have before that just aren't expressed yet, which are deleterious and defects and health and things like that. So I don't think breeding to sick birds or birds that are hybrids are always the way to go. Maybe in the beginning when you have to, and that's all you got, that's what you got to do. So yeah, you want good health. You want to select birds that are free of defects. We did answer this.
Yes.
I was including it. Free of faults. They got to represent their breed. The biggest thing is when you're selecting. What was the question again? When you're selecting your pair. Okay. So now let's take it from selecting the pair to actually selecting the cock and hen, which we said a minute ago, but let me go over it real quick again. So they got to complement each other. That's really important, because if you have contrasting characteristics, you're going to really fight those traits along the way. So they got to match their mates. They should be the same breed and variety. They really should. If you're breeding different breeds and varieties together, then you're actually creating a whole new breed. Like American games. If you're adding asil, then they're no longer American games. If you're adding Peruvian birds, they're no longer American games. And it would take them many generations to get to a point when they start acting and looking like American games again.
And that does happen.
They're doing it too much. Are you kidding? They're doing it all the time. Yeah. Most of the birds I see on Facebook or any social media site, they just don't represent American games, which tells me they're either selecting them poorly, they don't understand what the true structure of the bird is, they understand what the function and the purpose of the bird is, but they don't understand the true type and conformation and the traits that make the breed. So they're losing it. And then you can look at them, a lot of times you can see the other breeds in them. And because they don't know how to improve them from there, they just keep looking worse and worse as they go.
I'll give you an example of that, the asil. You can totally tell when the asil has been inbred into American games.
And to me, that's not an attractive look. But also the cocks, you need to try to find, if you got I want to say you want a proponent cock. Okay, but the only way to get propotency is when you're selecting a cock that's inbred, they're pure in their bloodline and in their traits, and they're healthy. You don't get prepotency from hybrids. You don't get prepotency from hybridization or mongrelization. So anytime you have multiple bloodlines, like a lot of people are into creating 3- and 4-way crosses, things like that, you just wiped out prepotency. Prepotency went out the window. The only thing you are seeing is the product of hybrid vigor, which is, like everybody knows, I say all the time, it's neither inheritable, past the next generation. The bird with the hybrid vigor is the product that doesn't go any further. It's a one-time deal. So you can't improve hybrid vigor and you can't enhance hybrid vigor. It's what it is. But prepotency is really important, so you want to try to find a cock that is as pure as possible, it's inbred as possible, and it has as many homozygous dominant traits as possible. That's when you're going to get the most prepotency.
Is that the definition of prepotency?
That's the criteria of good prepotency. Any of those are missing, you're not going to see the effects of prepotency. Mitochondrial DNA, again, it's the same thing. The more inbred they are, the healthier they are, the better indication that hen has good mitochondrial DNA. So if you're selecting your Adam and Eve that have good prepotency, or they're pure, inbred, they have as many homozygous dominant traits as possible, they don't have any faults or defects, then chances are, if you have those criteria, you're going to have a cock that's probably going to be prepotent, and you're going to have a hen that has good mitochondrial DNA. And another way to see whether she has good mitochondrial DNA is if her chicks are hatching really healthy, she's healthy, they're growing, developing really well, they never get sick, there's never any issues there. You can assume that hen has pretty good mitochondrial DNA. But if you get a good cock with good prepotency and a hen with good mitochondrial DNA, what a start that would be. That is the best Adam and Eve you could ever ask for. And if they match each other and share all the same characteristics and they're of the same breed variety, you're off to an awesome start. If you're going to pay a lot of money, that's what I would select. That's what I would go for. I wouldn't waste my time with anything else.
Even though they're a one-and-done project, you can breed them for that season as much as possible to get as many chicks on the ground as you can imagine afford. But they're still, no matter if they are the perfect pair, they're still a one-and-done. And you want to explain
hybrids?
Why? No, I'm talking about...
Oh, you're talking about the seed fowl? Okay.
Yeah.
They are and they're not, in that for most people... Okay, let's put it this way. I'm trying to be careful because we're going into the Founders Program here. And that's for our members.
That wasn't me.
Yeah, but you opened up the door, okay? How do I want to say this? Let's say you buy a trio or a pair for $1,000, $2,000, whatever. And they produce offspring, and the offspring are noticeably better than the parents. That parents did their job. Nancy's right. It's a one and done. They've done their job. You wouldn't keep breeding. If the offspring are better than the parents, you wouldn't breed the offspring to the parents because now you're going backwards. So anytime the offspring are better than the parents, you move forward. And if you're able to move forward, you'll never breed that original Adam and Eve again. Now, you may be able to use them for something else, or you may be able to sell them, get your money back, whatever. But as far as that breeding program, that strain, they did their job. They're as far as they're going to go. Whenever you have offspring better than the parents, then the ancestor behind it goes away. I don't care how many generations you go into the program. Every time you breed either outside blood or you breed to ancestors of past generations, you went backwards or you destroyed your strain. You don't want to add new blood and start over, and you want to breed distant ancestors into future generations because you're actually going backwards. Because as you select, as you go forward, each generation, you're getting rid of all the defects, all the deleterious genes, you're getting them healthier as you go. Once you take a distant ancestor back into the fold, into, let's say, his great-grandchildren, and we're only talking about the beginning of the program. This is not line breeding I'm talking about, by the way, either. That's a whole different animal. But if I bring a distant ancestor into future generations, then I reintroduce all the things that I selected out and started over. Inbreeding is a different story altogether. We're probably not going to talk about that tonight.
Just to let you guys know, we've got some comments and questions starred, and we will answer them towards the end of the show, which we're coming up on.
Where are we at here? Is that the question we're addressing right now?
That is the question that we are about to address now, but we are 10 minutes till the end of our show, and we have...
Okay, let's answer questions. We can always continue next week with these other questions. They're really good, though. I actually can't wait to get into some of these. So
yeah, they're good enough to where we only answered 2 questions, and it took up the whole show. So if that says anything to you... No.
Okay.
Getting to the questions here... Not pertaining to the subject matter, but it is an important question. Will there be a live Q&A anytime soon with Brian Reeder? He missed the last one.
Okay, Brian, he's not coming on in September, but he's planning to come on in October. We have a topic we're going to cover. It's going to be on what causes genetic variability, which I think you guys are going to find really interesting. Kind of goes with what we were talking about today. Really important, because when it comes to variation, it's variation that makes selection possible, selection makes improvement possible, and without variation, we cannot advance our birds, improve our birds, or fix any faults. Some variation is important, but it's not about actually adding any genetic diversity or adding variability. It's dealing with the variability that's there. He's going to come on with me in September, and I'm sure we'll do some questions at the same time, at the end.
All right, sound good. This question is for me. Nancy, in the recording spreadsheet you worked on, are there any on the website? Yes, we have a whole program geared just towards record keeping. It's complete with a video, a master's class video series. It's complete with different charts in
logs,
that
graphs, all
graphs
kinds of
that
stuff.
you can take off of the Breeders Academy website and use for yourself. The descriptions on every single log and chart and whatever you want to use, there's a description on how to use them and why you would want to use them or not is completely at your discretion what ones that you want to use. So yes, that is completed. Then we have 2 more questions for you, Kenny, and they are to the subject matter. And the first one is, on the seed fowl, do you let the hen let her sit on the eggs, or do you just incubate them?
Back in the day, the way I used to do it was, in the beginning of the season, I'd use the incubators, and I would get as many chicks on the ground as I could. I always wanted a really good selection. Nowadays, I sold my incubators, and I just use the hen. I've had good luck with the incubator. I think if you have good genetics, you have good fowl, you don't have any serious faults, they're not sick, they're not having problems with disease or other issues like that, then I don't see a problem with the incubator, actually. If you have a good incubator and a good brooder system, and you know how to use them, and you've got a good strain, you're going to get really good results. It's just more work on you. But the hen, there are some things the hen does that the incubator can't do, or the brooder, and that is she passes their maternal antibodies to the chicks as they're growing and developing, especially in the first 5 or 6 weeks. I try to keep the chicks with the hens as long as I can. Although I do, when they start getting about 5 or 6 weeks, I start keeping an eye on them. And if I see any issues where the hen is starting to eat before the chicks, pick on them, or anything like that, or the chicks are acting strange, then, or she's starting to lay eggs again, I'll pull her out, because I do want those chicks with her as long as I can. I think chicks benefit from being with the mother. But it's a lot less work for me. I don't have to do very much. So to me, the hen is better all the way around, actually. But like I said, if the conditions are right, you're using the proper equipment and you understand that equipment and you've got a really good strain that's not dealing with disease, I see no problem with the incubator and brooder if you're willing to do that.
But make sure, and I don't know if you've mentioned it, make sure that at the end of the season, you go ahead and let her hatch out.
Oh, yeah. That was the other side of the question. Okay, so what I used to do was I would use the incubator in the beginning of the season, and at the very end, I let the hen hatch the last clutch because I wanted to make sure that she had that good broody motherly instincts, that she stayed on the eggs for the full term. She was a good mother all the way through. Like I said, nowadays, it's the hen all the way. That's a good point, Nancy. I would never use the incubator only. I think you're setting yourself up for, if you want broodiness and you want the hens to hatch their own chicks, and that's a trait you want to hold on to, in some breeds, I think it's a breed characteristic that you want to maintain. You got to let them hatch at least once a year, or you're going to maybe find out down the road. Now, that happened to a friend of mine where he never let the hens hatch the chicks. He always used the incubator, and then I can't remember, I think when the electricity started going up, he was starting to think, okay, maybe I should use the hens. He found out a majority of his hens weren't broody anymore. They didn't have the instinct. They pretty much went away. It's like he wasn't being careful. He wasn't watching for it. He wasn't selecting for it. He bred it right out of him and didn't even know it. And broodiness it's a dominant trait, but it's also a polygenic trait. So polygenic traits are dealt with a lot differently than, let's say, a monogenic trait, dominant recessive. Whereas if you're not being careful, you breed to the wrong bird, that polygenic trait, in this case broodiness, could go away. You might lose the intensity of that trait, which she's not as broody as she could be, or she'd lose the intensity. Or if you breed to the wrong bird, that broody trait could completely go away. Breeding for polygenics, which is multi-genes, quantitative traits, you've got to breed always the highest intensity for that trait. That means you're going to be selecting the standouts. That also means you're going to be breeding to fewer birds, but they're your best birds. And you're going to improve those traits exponentially every generation. Whereas if you're just breeding to everything, you're going to get wildly different intensities throughout your yard. And instead of a bell-shaped curve that goes like this, I want a bell-shaped curve that goes like this, whoop, and like that. I want my best birds to be at the highest level intensity of the, how do I want to say this? The best intensity of the strain, so that I want all my birds to be good. I want to get to a point where all my birds are good, not just a handful of them. So I don't want a huge discrepancy, or what they call a mean, throughout my yard. I want it to be all to one side as much as possible. So any bird that's lacking in any way, gone. I'm breeding to the highest intensity, and as I go generation from generation, I'm going to see that I'm going to have more and more birds that are good than are bad, or maybe not see hardly any bad.
Yeah, in looking at the comments, and Kiko was saying that he has noticed that on a farm near his, that somebody who just did incubating and not letting the hens raise their own, those birds that were just incubated tended to lose their ability to just go out and forage. There were certain natural instincts that the mother teaches the babies as the babies are growing up when she's out and about and foraging and stuff like that, that these ones that were incubated didn't have.
I don't know if I've actually seen that. Anytime we're dealing with form, function, or any kind of behavioral traits, that's polygenic. So if they lost that instinct, which would be hard to believe actually, to that degree, lost the instinct to forage and be chickens, then some serious selection was either going on or wasn't going on. So I don't know about that. Like I raise American games. I don't care how they were bred. They just have that instinct to go out there and forage and do their thing. So I have a problem with that one. I'll agree with them though. The hens are better. I'll recommend the hens every time.
I'll say this and leave it alone. You've got a hen that raises the babies and teaches them how to, by using certain squawks.
Okay, I'm gonna clear that up even more.
Okay.
If the hen is teaching them to be good foragers, that's not necessarily genetic. If they're learning from her, that's acquired. Now, the only way that would be true is if it were genetic, and let's say the mother didn't do it, but either did the babies. The mother did it, but maybe not all the babies. And then Mother Nature came and killed some of them off and killed all the ones that actually did it and left the ones that didn't. Then it goes from acquired genetics or characteristics to genetic inheritance. You see what I mean? So there's a lot that would go into that. If they're selecting out the birds that are good foragers, you're going to destroy that foraging instinct. If they're breeding for birds that are foraging, then they're improving that foraging instinct. Whether the mother does it or not, I don't think it has anything to do with it. It's a natural selection thing going on there.
Okay. All right.
Is anybody following that?
I should have read Kiku's statement word for word because I may have it misconstrued.
Okay. I only went by what you said.
Do you want me to read his comment? Or do we want to move on?
Let's move on.
Okay. So moving on, there was one more question we had here. So to move forward, you need to breed brother and sister every year?
No.
Okay.
That's something we talk about inside the Breeders' Academy. Brother and sister mating, inbreeding is a tool. It's something we use inside the Breeders' Academy, but it's for a specific reason, for a specific amount of time. And it has a place in the Founders Program, but it's not done every year. No way. Now, I do know some breeders that inbreed all the time every year, but they cull very hard. They understand the inbreeding, because a lot of people don't understand inbreeding. A lot of people are fear of inbreeding. Inbreeding is a great tool if you use it properly and you use the right birds. That's what I will say about that. But it is a major part of the Founders Program, but in no way do we use it every year. No way.
Yeah, there's certain things that we do. We can't talk about it because it's in the Founders Program.
Yeah.
And we'll leave that for our members to, what's the word I'm looking for?
Tongue-tied?
Yeah. No, not to tongue-tie.
No, are you tongue-tied?
To find out about. No, that's not the right words, but in other words, yeah. So we are right at an hour. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up?
Nope, that's it for now.
Okay, we do need to remind everybody that the next show is going to be a week from Friday.
It's going to be, let me see.
The 26th.
The 26th with Dr. Gallardo. So there won't be anything next Tuesday. It'll be the Friday after.
And it will be at 12 p.m.
It's going to be 12 p.m., 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. And I do apologize for our crazy schedule. We're not going to be back to normal until November. This is usually the time we take off. So
that's the thing. We either take off and don't do a podcast for 6 weeks, or we do a podcast on the days that we're available to do the podcast. And we decided, you know what? No, we want to keep doing the podcast every week. So we're going to be moving around like crazy here. But we'll be sending out notifications for the public and for the Breeders' Academy members inside the Breeders' Academy members group to remind you guys that we are there. Plus, the Breeders' Academy members can go back and re-listen to any podcast that they've missed at any time from day one until today.
Well, this is a good time for our members to get into the website and take advantage of all the material in there, all the videos we've done, all the Masters Class videos. I'm sure you haven't seen them all. We have so much in there. It would take years for most people to get through that material. There's just so much inside the Breeders' Academy. So I hope that members don't join thinking it's the video every week that we do. It's the material inside the Breeders' Academy that matters. This is actually this outside thing we do, this YouTube channel, this live show, it's our promotional arm, but it's for the most part extra.
Oh, it's nothing compared to the information that you're going to see inside the Breeders' Academy.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. And a lot of you that are members that are watching today, they know.
Yeah. Was that it?
That's it. So until next Friday,
26th.
A week from Friday, the 26th, we'll see you then. Have a good week. Take care.
Is that it?
That's it.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you again for joining us on the Bred to Perfection podcast show. This show was brought to you by the Breeders' Academy, where by becoming a member, you can increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and take you and your fowl to the next level.
We can also show you how to create a strain from hybrid crosses or mongrel flocks, and help you to create, maintain, and improve your present strains. We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel anytime.
To join us at the Breeders' Academy membership website, go to www.breedersacademy.com.
Best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
While you're checking out the Breeders' Academy, make sure to sign up for our newsletter, The Breeders' Bulletin. We provide a lot of free bonus materials and some great information that will take you and your fowl to the next level. Well, that's it for now.
We hope you join us next time for another episode of Bred to Perfection. We'll see you later.
Bye. Welcome to the after show. This is the part of the show that doesn't exist. What happens in the after show stays in the after show. If you've mentioned to your friends about the after show, which happens from time to time, no worries. Just tell them not to let out our little secret area of the show. Enjoy!
They're so afraid of inbreeding. They're so afraid of inbreeding depression. They're so afraid of expressing deleterious genes or detrimental defects that they just avoid anything that resembles inbreeding at all. And they lump actual line breeding with that. So their idea of line breeding, which we call in and inbreeding, is breeding aunt to nephew, uncle to niece, cousin to cousin, and they may go as close as half brother, half sister, but that's it. And you just cannot make progress breeding that far apart, because on the other side of each of those matings or other side of each of those birds is a bird that has been outcrossed for the most part. How can you breed a tight family when you're breeding that far apart? You can't lock anything in, Frank.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was getting ready to say. They're actually breeding birds that should never, ever be line breeding to start with. They've not been cleaned up. They've got so much genetic diversity. I mean, that's a mess you're talking about right there, actually doing birds, just mongrels or hybrids in general, just hybrids, line breeding them. That creates a lot of mess right there.
Yeah. So what's the difference between, let's say, line breeding and backcrossing? Backcrossing, you have a recurrent parent and you have a donor parent. Those parents aren't related to each other. So what they're doing is they're producing hybrids from that. And the idea is to take that hybrid offspring and look at it and decide, is it better than the parents or not? And if it's not, a lot of people just scrap whatever birds they have and they just start over with something else. Well, that's the main thing about backcrossing is I can take that hybrid offspring, which could be better, and breed it back to its recurrent parent. The parent that I decide is the better parent, the direction that I actually want to go. And by breeding that hybrid bird back to one of its parents or that parent back to its hybrid offspring, I'm going to get 99% of the time offspring that are a little better. A lot of times better than the parent. We're getting a little more from them. And then we can move forward. How many back crosses you do will depend on how much progress you make. But you never want to do more back crossing than you need to. It's getting to the point where they're better than the parents and then you move forward. But everybody thinks just because they bred mother to son or father to daughter, that's automatically an inbreeding, which it's not.
What is that actually called? Backcrossing?
Backcrossing.
Okay, that was my question.
Well, now, what Kenny's talking about with the hybrids, that's making your own strain, really. Now, in an established family is to clone the actual individual that you're doing. And to clone that individual, you want that individual to have everything possible that it should have. It shouldn't have no defects. It should be clean of all and anything negative whatsoever with that bird. And have the required traits that you want to clone. But, Kenny, they're doing birds now that's not even close to that.
Yeah. What's up, Nance?
So if you have an established family, should you not have to back cross?
That's something we'll talk about in the Founders Program.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just trying to tell you the difference between line breeding and back crossing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Frank's right. You don't want to line breed anything that has a fault or has issues. The line breeding process is what we call a cloning process. Basically, you're finding a bird that has everything you're looking for, is expressing really good traits. You basically want to make more of them. This is where line breeding comes into play, because let's say in an inbreeding is you want to fixate and lock in the genes. Well, line breeding kind of refines it. It actually gets you closer and closer to the bird that you want to clone every generation. So it locks in the monogenic traits and it intensifies the favorable polygenic traits. And that's the neat thing about it. This is why it just bothers me they get it so wrong. If you look at all the different methods that are out there, line breeding is the easiest method to do. It's the simplest method. But not only do they get that wrong, but they don't do the things before the line breeding right, and they don't do the things after the line breeding right, which even if they did the line breeding properly, what they do in the beginning and what they do in the end is what messes it up. But they don't even do the actual method right. If you are enjoying the show and would like to learn more, I encourage you to join me at the Breeders Academy. By becoming a member, I can help you to achieve the competitive advantage.